The UNC Pembroke Braves women's basketball team is off to its best start in 10 years. The team sits at 4-1 following a 76-67 win at the Apprentice School last weekend. Full coverage of UNCP women's basketball with head coach John Haskins is coming up. The men's basketball team won its only game last week on the road at Winston-Salem State, an 84-62 triumph over the Rams, which completed a season sweep. The Braves return to the hardwood today to face Barton in a road game at 4 p.m. And the 16th ranked UNCP wrestling team competed last weekend at the Central Florida Open, and 17 wrestlers made the podium in their respective weight classes. The Braves were led by Eric Milks, Brandon Sloop, Blaze Shade, Mikey Thomas, and Danny Barrier, who all won first place in their tournaments. Next up for the Braves is the Midwest Classic in Indiana on December 17th. The Black and Gold Report starts now. Welcome to another episode of the Black and Gold Report presented by Pepsi, a show all about UNC Pembroke athletics. I'm Cameron Songer, and on this week's show, we check in on the hot starts of the men's and women's basketball teams with their respective head coaches. We'll start with UNCP women's basketball head coach John Haskins. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Good to be here.
First of all, congrats on the start. The 4-1 start is the best start for the Braves since 2005-2006. What have been some of the keys to the early season success?
I think we've played well at times. I think we've got more offensive weapons. We didn't play very well offensively in the St. Aug's game, nor did we play very good offensively in the second half of the Wingate game. But with the exception of that, I think we've scored some points. So I think we're better offensively just because we've got more offensive weapons. So I think that's a plus. There's some areas that obviously we need to work on in terms of defense and consistency. And the other good thing, the last couple of games, we've rebounded much better.
The Braves have started the season 3-0 on the road. Obviously, road games will only get tougher when conference play begins, but how has your team been able to stay perfect on the road thus far?
Well, I don't know, but I think that's a good sign when you get a team that goes away from home and can win some games, and that will help us as we move on into the league because it's tough to go win road games in the Peach Belt. And, when I looked at the schedule, I said, okay, we're, at NC State in an exhibition, and we're at Coker and at Greensboro. I mean, we had a number, and we still got one more at Mount Olive. So, number of road games to start the season. But I think that's good for any team if they can win on the road. And we've got 5 seniors on our team, so we should be a better road team.
All 4 of your wins have been by less than 10 points, including an overtime triumph against St. Augustine's. Do you think playing in all those close games has taught your team how to win in crunch time?
Well, I think that's that's a plus. To be in a situation where there's a little bit of pressure on every possession that you've got to execute and do some things right. I think that's a plus. We were kind of cruising at Coker, and then we really struggled there for a while. The Fayetteville State game was back and forth where we came back. The St. Aug's game was another game where we had a lead and kind of let it dwindle a little bit. But we've had some different type of games. The UNC Greensboro exhibition where we had to come back and make a couple plays to get back in the game and send that in overtime. So all those are good experiences for our team.
Although it was technically an exhibition game, one could argue that the most impressive game your team has played was at UNC Greensboro, a 72-69 overtime loss. What were some of your thoughts on that one?
Good experience for our girls, and it was pretty neat in that we had played a couple of games before we went up there and played that exhibition game. And obviously when the D1s call, you kind of play when they can play, and that's why we did that. But I really liked it that we had a couple of games under our belt, and then we played one that didn't necessarily count on our record. Thought we did some very good things. Dug ourselves a hole early, and then we were up at 5 at half, and then the second half it was pretty much a back and forth game. I thought we had some defensive breakdowns that hurt us, and they extended a zone, and we didn't do a great job of attacking it. But again, made plays to get back in the game and send that game in overtime, and actually had the ball, I think, with about 15 or 20 seconds left to get a shot to take the lead. So very good experience for our team, and I think we responded very well.
Sitting at 4-1, your team has 10 days in between games. I know final exams are during that time, but what are some of the things you're working on with your team before that next game?
Well, you get a good break during exams, and the first thing you want your team to do is do a good job on exams, and so we don't spend a lot of time in practice. We'll go most every day, but the practice will be a little bit shorter. We try to do a lot of shooting. We try to do a lot of dummy and offense in terms of refreshing what we have done. And work on refining things that we're not real good at, and then maybe putting in a couple of new things. I think that's good if you can put in, because you do have some time and some practices in between contests. If you could throw something new and work on something new that maybe your opponent hadn't seen yet. So I think that those are what we use these practices for.
It's time to take our first break on the Black and Gold Report. We'll be back with more UNCP women's basketball right after this.
Braves fans, season tickets for the 2016-17 home basketball season are on sale now, and premium chairback seats for the Peach Belt Conference's most electric environment can be purchased for as little as $70. This season's package includes 14 men's games and 13 women's games and can be purchased by calling 910-521-6361 or visiting uncpbraves.com/tickets.
Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report, joined once again by UNCP women's basketball coach John Haskins. Coach, how much have you looked at other results from the Peach Belt Conference foes, and how do you think your team compares at this point?
You know, it's funny. I was just walking down the hall and I said, I haven't looked at, I couldn't tell you what anybody in the league's doing. I look ahead about an opponent ahead, and the next one's Mount Olive, and so, I'll look kind of what they did and start watching film on them. But I don't really look at it. I don't like comparing results. Each game is its own game, and we know that we're talented enough that if we play well, we've got a great chance to win. We also know that if we don't play well, this league is good enough, you've got a great chance to lose. So I think, each game is its own entity, and that's how we try to approach it.
The leading scorer and rebounder through 5 games is Janisa Monley, a returning all Peach Belt Conference selection from last year. She's recently worked her way back into the starting lineup after off-season surgery. How has she progressed so far?
Getting better. She had as good a second half of the season as anybody in our league last year. I think the last 13 games of the year averaged 17 points and 11.5 rebounds, and I thought she was phenomenal. Pretty much night in, night out. You could really count on her. The surgery did set her back some in terms of the recovery and that type of thing, and conditioning. I think she's getting there. Is she where she was the last half of the season? No. Is she where she was the first half of second season? I think absolutely. So that's a great sign for us. And we play inside, outside anyway. We like to get the ball inside, and that's one of the things that hurt us against Wingate was Marta at 6'4" was just such a force inside. It was hard for us to score a lot around the basket. But that's the way we like to play, and I think she's just kind of the catalyst for that.
In the backcourt, you have 2 senior point guards in Jasmine Huntley and Erica Williams. How important has that been in facing a lot of teams that like to run the full court press?
Yeah, both experienced, both good ball handlers, both pretty good decision makers, both good athletes. Both can break down the press, particularly Jasmine. I mean, she's just so quick, 94 feet. It's just hard to keep her in front of you. But I think Co's been doing a much better job of being aggressive and attacking the press. She did a couple of really nice things the other night and broke down the press and dished the ball either against the press or in transition, where she created easy baskets for us. But it's nice having that experience out on the floor, particularly late game situations when people are putting pressure on you.
The top 6 scorers for the Braves so far are all returning players. You brought in a few new faces in the offseason. Who are some newcomers that could become a larger part of the rotation as the season rolls on?
Well, I think you've seen signs of that throughout the season. I think, although it doesn't count on the official stats, you saw what Nile Allen did at UNC Greensboro. I think that Blair at Coker making shots, and then she got injured. I think BB's trying to come into her own and just kind of figuring out what we can do. I think she's somebody that can really help us moving forward. Jillian Ebram has done some really good things for us. But, as a freshman, she's going to be a little bit up and down. And Stephanie Johnson the same way. I think all 5 of those have done a good job and have contributed at times and shown signs of what they can do. They, just like the rest of our team, need to do it on a more consistent basis.
The Braves' next game is Wednesday at Mount Olive at 5:30. What do you want to see out of that game before conference play begins on the 17th?
We just got the film because we didn't carry film with us to Newport News. So I'm watching that, and then I'll start watching Mount Olive probably late today or tomorrow. Obviously, from us, I think Mount Olive's a very good team. They're hard to play at home. They've got some experience. They've got some tough kids, athletic kids. They got some kids that can score. Just from a consistency basis, I think we've shown signs of being a good team all year. We've shown signs of not being a very good team. I think on both ends of the floor, we've had some lulls offensively where we've either thrown the ball away or couldn't put it in the basket. We've had some struggles at times defensively. I think we've got to get better in those areas in terms of being more consistent through the 40 minutes. Basically I tell the girls going into every game, our goal tonight is play our best game of the year, and that'll be our goal against Mount Olive, is to play as well as we can play and play our best game of the year.
Coach Haskins, thanks for being here. It's time to take another time out on the Black and Gold Report. We'll be right back.